Go on a date, they said.
It'll be fun, Lee said. Tell that to my date, because by the end of the night, we were sat in A&E, and trust me, nobody was having fun. Well, apart from the people in the pub who watched the whole thing happen. So let me rewind a bit. I'd been talking to Greg for just over a month after we met through banter in the comments section of my friend's Facebook post. Honestly, after so many awful dates and complete disasters when it came to my love life, I'd pretty much given up at that point. My friend kept telling me, "Life's too short, just go for it." Easy for her to say. She wasn't the one traumatized by modern dating. But eventually I thought, you know what? Fine. Greg suggested meeting at this pub that had a pool table, and honestly, that sounded pretty relaxed. Now, there's something you should probably know about me before this story continues. I'm a little competitive. And by a little competitive, I mean losing physically irritates my soul. So the night of the date, I got there a bit early, and not long after Greg walked in. Straight away I relaxed because he seemed normal, funny, easy to talk to, good-looking. Everything was actually going suspiciously well for once. We got some drinks, found a table, and after chatting for a bit, I looked over at the pool table and said, "Fancy a game?" Greg laughed and went, "I've heard you're a little competitive." I said, "Me? No, who told you that?" Which probably confirmed it immediately because I couldn't even say it with a straight face. So we started playing and, annoyingly, he was good. Like, properly good. The kind of good where you suddenly regret suggesting the activity. But somehow I still managed to win the first game, and honestly, the level of satisfaction I felt was ridiculous. Greg just laughed, shook his head, and said, "Right, again." By this point, we were a couple of drinks in, and suddenly the date stopped feeling like a date and started feeling like the final round of a sports movie. Second game, he absolutely destroyed me. I'm talking humiliatingly bad. So naturally I said, "Right, okay, that means it's 1-1. We need a deciding game." And this is where things started getting out of hand. A few of the pub regulars had started watching us. Every time one of us took a shot, you could feel people paying attention, and honestly, that made me even more competitive. I was locked in. At one point, I genuinely celebrated potting a ball like I'd just won the Olympics. Craig was laughing because he realized how seriously I was taking it. Now, somehow during the final game, I started pulling ahead and I was feeling very confident. Too confident. I turned around to ask Greg if he wanted another drink while still holding the pool cue, and somehow managed to bump into him at exactly the wrong moment. His drink went flying. I slipped. Greg tried grabbing me to stop me falling, which meant he slipped. And the next thing I knew, I landed directly on top of him while both of us crashed onto the pub floor in front of half the building. The whole pub went silent for about 2 seconds before everyone started reacting at once. At first, we were both laughing because honestly, it looked ridiculous. But then Greg suddenly stopped laughing and grabbed his ankle. And that's when I realized this had gone very wrong. Fast forward a little while, and there we were, sat in A&E together while Greg waited for an X-ray because apparently the way I landed on him had fractured his ankle. I honestly didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or just leave the country entirely. At one point, one of the pub regulars actually walked past the waiting area and shouted, "Who won the final game then?" I immediately shouted back, "It was a draw!" Greg looked over at me and laughed before saying, "Oh, you were winning." And honestly, that caught me off guard a bit. I just smiled and said, Some things are more important than winning, which is probably the most emotionally mature thing I've ever said in my entire life. So yeah, my date ended in A&E with a fractured ankle. But weirdly, I still had a better time than some of my other dates. So tell me, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you on a date? And if you enjoy chaotic dating disasters like this one, make sure to subscribe because apparently my love life exists purely for entertainment at this point.